Hey guys, Akil Stokes here. In today's episode of the Trading Coach Podcast, we're going to talk about what makes trading one of the best and most easiest or least expensive businesses to start up, as well as what you should look for when vetting a trading platform and making the decision on what you want to use for your trading. If you haven't done so already, make sure you check out the YouTube channel. Just YouTube search Akil Stokes. Weekly videos, live streams, all that fun stuff up there. YouTube, Akil Stokes. Enjoy today's episode. Jam-packed episode there. But before we get started, wanted to talk a little bit about a conversation we were just having on the chat. We're talking to Jane. There's a few of us, and we're talking about demo accounts. She started by asking, hey, what are some options for some free demo accounts? So we started, naming them off, your MetaTraders, your TradingView, your NinjaTrader, and stuff like that. And we started talking a little bit about like the cost of everything. And, I take this for granted. I don't think about this enough, but we always talk about one of the benefits of trading. There are so many benefits of trading. There is obviously it is a wealth accelerator. It is an opportunity for you to take your money and grow it at an exponential rate. It is something that can provide freedom of time just by the nature of it being the investment markets, right? Moves happen while you're asleep. Doesn't take a massive time investment like your 9 to 5. There's also a lot of flexibility in it, specifically the Forex market, but all markets where you can kind of adjust it around your work schedule, your life schedule, however you want. And there's so much flexibility. But another thing that we talk about is when it comes to the business of trading, because trading is a business, right? We should teach it as a business, or we should treat it like a business. It still wows a lot of people. I get a lot of new followers or listeners to the Trading Coach Podcast, and they hear us talk about treat your trading like a business, and it's like it's an eye-opening moment. They never thought about it, but it makes perfect sense. And one of the valuable things about this business is that it's probably has the cheapest startup and operation cost versus any other business I can think of, or at least most other businesses I can think of, which is a massive benefit. And we're talking about the demo thing, and I ended up choosing NinjaTrader, and what I did was I did a demo account and I did like a monthly license for I think like the first 6 months I was using it. Right? I wasn't using NinjaTrader until I started taking my trading course. Because that was the platform that my mentors were using. That was the platform that we had like the software for, and the platform I was using before was really remedial in hindsight. But I remember that it was this massive investment, right? Once I'm the type of guy that I have to act before I do, in a sense, right? I was talking to this with a few athletes the other day, where it's like you've got to tell yourself something, and then you've got to put the pressure on yourself to back it up. So for me, right, I knew I wasn't ready to trade live yet or anything, but in order for me to really take trading seriously, I had to do stuff like I had to sign up for a course, right? I had to invest in this course because once I'm investing in a course, I'm going to take it seriously, right? Same thing with like running, right? I have to train for something. If I'm just I'm not a big fan of just going to the gym or running or doing workouts for fun. Now, I do like it as a meditative activity, but typically I need to be working towards something. So I'll do stuff like sign up for a 5K or sign up for a marathon because now I know, okay, now I have to train or I'm going to embarrass myself. So I did the same thing with my charting platform. I remember it was a big decision, right? I invested $1,000 in a lifetime license for NinjaTrader. It was really $600. I was prorated a little bit because I was doing the monthly for a few months before that. But $1,000 invested in a lifetime license. Crazy at the time. But I look back now and it's 2022. That was 2009. I haven't paid a dime since. So the main thing that I use for my trading, the main platform, the thing I execute all my orders on, the thing I do the bulk of my analysis on, like the one thing that I can't trade without, has been free for the past 15 years. Like, how crazy is that? How crazy is that? That is like, imagine buying a franchise like a McDonald's, and instead of, usually you got to pay the rent, right? Imagine just buying buying the real estate outright at the beginning. Like, think about what that does to your operating costs where you don't have to have that monthly rent due. Crazy, right? We take it. I don't think about it too much. We take it for granted because it just, it's been that way for so long. But I thought about it this morning when I was talking to Jane and them, and that's ridiculous. Now, the one thing I said to her as well, because she's like, okay, it sounds like NinjaTrader is the way to go, and I was like, well, no, not so fast, right? When you still want to make sure that the platform before making that investment, you want to make sure you're on the right platform, right? I personally like NinjaTrader, but not everyone does. I personally don't like MetaTrader, but many people do, right? I personally like TradingView, many people don't, right? You want to make sure that whatever platform you choose, you want to make sure it's the one you want to use. So don't just go with NinjaTrader because, just don't just go with MetaTrader because it's free, or just don't go with NinjaTrader because you can pay this one-time license and blah, blah, blah. Just don't go with TradingView because of, whatever, right? My advice is always try a few of them out and understand that trying them out takes time. Like when I say try out, just don't do it for a day because there is a learning curve, right? I bash MetaTrader a lot because I find it hard to use. But in full disclosure, I've never invested a massive amount of time in using it. The only time I've ever used it is when we're kind of testing something and like a system or a setup on MetaTrader, and that's done over like a month's period of time, but I'm not actually doing like full analysis on it. I'm only testing it for one specific purpose. So I would guess that if I used it more, you like riding a bike or driving a car, you get more comfortable doing it, and then it becomes more user friendly. So you want to take time before you place judgment, but I would recommend taking time to test out your different options, whatever they are, and write down the pros and cons, right? Write down the pros and cons of each. Again, it's really no different than, test driving a car, right? You try one out. Obviously, pricing is a factor, right? You look at pricing and you want to pick a car that's within your range, but you test it out. You see how it drives, how are the brakes, how does it handle. You take your notes, right? You test out your next one, do the same thing. You take your notes, you test out your next one. Do the same thing. You take your notes, and then you weigh the pros and cons. Of does it have everything I need, right? Is it very user friendly as far as charting? Does it connect to the broker, right? If you have a specific broker that you plan on using, and for, we have traders in thousands of countries across the world, right? Some of those countries are very restrictive, right? Here in the US, for example, we're very restrictive. We literally have less than a handful of brokers that we can choose from. So we want to make sure that we take a platform that can connect to our broker. I believe Canada is even worse than us, even more restrictive. I shouldn't say worse or better, even more restrictive than us. So that's a main factor as well. So you got your pricing, you got your connectivity, like to your broker, you have your usage, right? Can I handle it? Does it allow me to do what I need to do, whatever my analysis style is in the market, clearly, right? For me, I use, I'm price action trader, so I need to navigate the charts with ease. I need to be able to go up, go down, go left, go right, zoom in, zoom out, draw tools with certain ease, right? Especially when I was a day trader, right? I need to be very crisp in doing that. And that's one of the reasons at first I put TradingView behind NinjaTrader, because it was a little bit floaty in the analysis, a little bit hard. If you are a coder, right? Duncan was on the platform. He says one of the reasons I chose NinjaTrader was because of the coding ability. Right? MetaTrader is pretty user-friendly for coding as well, from what I've heard. NinjaTrader was a little bit more difficult. I think it's gotten better. But if you're a coder, right, does it allow you to code and do the stuff that you need to do? Right? Order-wise, right? I know one of the big things with MetaTrader, and I'm sure maybe a few other platforms as well, is there could be some difficulties in taking multiple targets. Wherein, you guys can correct me if I'm wrong, but I believe at least it used to be like this in MetaTrader, right? In order to take multiple positions, you had to enter kind of separate trades. You couldn't scale out. You couldn't have like a 4 unit and then take unit 1 off here, unit 2 here, unit 3 here, unit 4 here. You had to have 4 separate trades, right? For me, that's somewhat of a hassle. Now, again, I've never taken the time to really play around with it, so it could be easy. I don't know, but those are the things that you need to take into account before choosing a platform. So I thought it was a cool conversation. They're still having it right now. I missed Tony chimed in, Duncan chimed in. I can't read it right now because I'm in the Q&A with you guys. But if you're someone that's interested in that conversation, this is Monday morning, 8 o'clock. Go back to the chat. We've been having it since, it's 8:41, sorry. We've been having it probably since a little bit after 8 o'clock. A very interesting discussion, especially if you're a newer trader that's in that boat where you're starting to be like, hey, I want to get a little bit serious about my trading now. I've learned. I'm ready to go into demo mode. What do I do now? And this is cool because this is exactly what this community is supposed to be for, where Jane can ask a question and she gets feedback from multiple people with multiple opinions. And then and no one's telling her what to do. No one's telling her what to do. No one's saying, you got to do this, you got to do that. It's like, hey, here's what I've experienced. Here's what I like about it. Here's what I don't like about it. And it gives her knowledge to make her own decision, right? It's her going through the Consumer Reports or whatever the equivalent magazine is at, reading the stats about the car, and then allowing her to kind of narrow down her list and at least go into her testing, her exploration with some knowledge of what to be aware for. So pretty cool chicken skin moment on the chat. I love it. I've been missing the chat lately. I log in at times where you guys are like taking lunch breaks, and then and then you guys are active during the live room, and I come back on for my lunch break, and so I'm glad I caught one this morning. This is usually my live room time, which is when the chat's popping. Greg says, going back, he says, I think it's also about the way you first learn. If you started with one platform, you know everything about it, you tend to stick to it. Yeah, no, I agree 100%, right? Because I think we're going to judge everything off that first platform, Greg. Yeah, you're right. Like if you learn I learned on something called AccuCharts, right? And so it was the only thing I knew. So all of my habits were formed on AccuCharts. So I remember when I went to NinjaTrader, like it was so weird. It was so weird. They had this 360 movement, and like it was a different way to make candles bigger and smaller. Things were skinny, and like it was pretty tough. Yep, I that's 100% true, and that's why you need to take time. You can't expect to like jump to a new platform and be great on it right away, right? I've done that with a few platforms that I was asked to beta test, and I always got to, whenever you're asked to beta test, you give feedback, and I go on there, and the first thing I write down is like, oh, too hard to navigate, and I got to stop myself like, Akil, you've been on it for 5 minutes, right? You shouldn't compare it to what you're currently using. Think about it as someone who is fresh, right? Give that learning curve time. So that's pretty cool. So nice subject. Wanted to bring it up because I thought it would be helpful. Many of you guys are in that boat. Now we're going to read through some trading plans. Again, we got 2.5 kind of to go through. And again, feedback was requested. So give me a second. I'm going to get a swig of water. I'm going to load up the documents, and then we'll get to navigating them. Hey guys, thank you for taking the time to listen to today's episode. If you want more trading knowledge, make sure you check out our website, www.tier1trading.com. We've got free workshops. We got some trial memberships, a lot of stuff over there that will help push you towards your goal of becoming a consistently profitable trader. Again, www.tier1trading.com. Peruse the site and take advantage of the education available. See you next episode.